Hello and welcome to another episode of The Man from Hildebrand. Apologies for this episode being a little bit late. I did actually, so this is my third attempt, so hopefully third time lucky. My first attempt was yesterday and I got 10 minutes in and I totally cocked up because this is totally unscripted. And then the second attempt I thought was brilliant until I got to the uploading process and realised that actually shit, I missed out a big chunk of important news. So apologies for the delay. So what has happened in the world of Bond? Well, myself and a few others have started to receive the License to Kill expanded score, and for those who haven't received it, you will not be disappointed because it is absolutely fantastic. I don't think Gladys Knight has actually ever sounded so good, if I'm honest. And it's actually it's actually really surprising at how kind of mashed up the original 1989 presentation was, because there must have been about 3 or 4 cues kind of stitched together to make one track. Now what they've done, they've obviously dissected that and they've gave us it all chronological order, and they've gave us bits which have never been released before. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. On the note of La La Land, if you download, or if you haven't already, go over to the 007 files, which is presented by Bill Koenig and Gervais Trujillo. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name, but they have they have actually done the first episode of this year where they've interviewed Neil S. Bulk, who is a chap behind these CDs. Now, it was only a few weeks ago where I actually said, you know what, it'd be really cool if we got some in-depth information on that process, on how they managed to bring these together, because it's just a really fascinating process. So yes, subscribe to the 007 files, because Bill Koenig is just an absolute legend. He knows his shit. And Gervais Trujillo, again, he knows his stuff. He's a great guy. I follow him on Instagram. It's the Bond is Not Enough, and he's also a massive Batman fan. So yeah, he's an absolute dude. So follow them and listen to the latest podcast. So what's happened in the world of Bond? So Ian Fleming Publications have released this year's plan. So they have got some audiobooks in the pipeline, which, to be fair, I've got nothing against audiobooks. It's just that I don't buy them because I haven't got time to listen to them. They are absolutely ideal if you do long car journeys, which is something I don't do. Probably, for the past 10-15 years, the audiobooks that they've released have been absolutely top notch, because they've had some really good, top star, top names on there. They've had, Kenneth Branagh, Hugh Bonneville, Dan Stevens, Bill Nighy, Rosamund Pike. They've had. I'd like to think they might have had Colin Firth in the past. I'm not too sure. I don't know, but they've had some fantastic, people on there. And for me, I think, for an audiobook to be enjoyable, you've got to sort of basically just get on and connect with the person reading it to you. Talking of audiobooks, if you haven't, I would recommend to get My Word Is My Bond, which is narrated by Roger Moore. I can remember listening to that just after he passed, and it was just such a really, really comforting odd. It's just it just feels very heartwarming, and there's nothing more comforting than having Sir Roger just reading to you. So yeah, definitely go. My Word Is My Bond. Definitely get that, just for Roger Moore. But yeah, no. So IFP, they're releasing the audiobooks. The new ones they've released, they've got Richard Armitage reading Casino Royale, with Alex Kingston reading Moonraker. I don't know who are doing the others, but again, they are, very well known people, and you'll be able to recognise the voices anyway. So yeah, audiobooks are out there. They're also releasing some notebooks. which I would suspect will probably have the hummingbird, you know, the Ian Fleming Publications logo. I'm kind of fearful that they might go down the 007 store route, where they would just flood the market with just tat and just pointless paraphernalia. You know, I mean, in their mind they might think they're making a shitload of money, but in fact no, they're not, because it's just pointless tat. So I feel that you've got to be very selective in what you sell and what you produce. So yeah, we've got some notebooks. April sees the paperback edition of Kim Sherwood's second novel, A Spy Like Me. October time, we also see the release of Quantum of Menace, which is the first book in, I believe it might be a trilogy of detective stories featuring Q, which I'm just not sold on that at all, and I certainly won't be buying that. I mean, if you was to do something about Q, I would have much preferred a fictionalised biography on Major Boothroyd, as we know from the Fleming novel and from the Fleming timeline. I just think, you know, it's IFP stupidly trying to tick the boxes and trying to appeal to a younger audience. I don't know. It's not for me, and I think what put me off is the title as well, Quantum of Menace. It's just cheap and it's just tacky. You know, it's clearly a play on Quantum of Solace. It just, I don't know. I mean, okay, we had On His Majesty's Secret Service, which I still need to read. That I'm kind of 50-50, because yeah, it is kind of suited to today's time, and it's obviously, you know, within the context. But Quantum of Menace, I mean, I dread to think what the other books, what, you know, will be called that follow. But no, Quantum of Menace, it's just not for me. So, you know, I mean, if it's your kind of thing, if you want to go and buy it, do it. But I'm not, because I just think they've just kind of, don't know. I just think calling it Quantum of Menace is just a mistake, and I just think the old concept of it is just not really what I was wanting from Ian Fleming Publications. Also, and this is the news that I actually missed out on the second attempt yesterday, was that Talk of the Devil is now probably released in paperback, draw trade edition. Now, Talk of the Devil is basically, it was first published back in 2008 by Queen's Anne's Press, which was ironically owned by Ian Fleming, and it's basically a collection of all his unpublished work. It's like his journalisms, his short stories and poems and things. It's just now collected as one volume, and the kind of ironic thing is the wife had got me it for Christmas. Bear with me. She'd got me this edition for Christmas, which was about 160 quid, I think, and it is by the Queen's Anne's Press. And then lo and behold, they then go and release it in paperback, which I don't know. I kind of felt that something like this, I think, you know, the fact that it's by the Queen Anne's Press and it's quite scarce and it's quite limited just makes it that little bit special. Now you're going to get it released paperback and released so it's widely available, just somehow doesn't make it more unique. I don't know. I mean, I still need to read this, though. I still need to read this. So, yeah, Talk of the Devil. So I think that is it from Ian Fleming Publications. So we've got audiobooks, Talk of the Devil, notebooks, paperback edition of Spy Like Me, and Quantum of Menace, which is coming out 23rd of October, I think. Also in Bond news, there's a company called Mini GT, which was founded in 2017, and they specialise in die-cast cars. Now they are basically releasing a range of Bond cars, and I'm suspecting there might be 25. I don't know. There might be 25 one vehicle for each film. Now they scale at 1/64, which is that scale, which is probably just under 2-inch. Now this was a Corgi one that they did about just over 20 years ago. So Mini GT are basically releasing that size. If you're into your cars, get them, because they retail at about £20, which you can't really argue with. If I had the room, I would buy them, but I haven't got the room. So yeah, definitely get them. I mean, with the pictures and stuff I've looked, they look really cool. I think the Aston Martin is actually readily available on the 007 store. Now also the packaging is really cool, because the packaging features the original artwork from that film, but also, which I think is quite cool, is whatever region those cars, those markets are sold in, they have the associated artwork. So for instance, in Japan they will have the Japanese artwork. In France they will have the French artwork, which reminds me, I am going to Paris in April, so I might look out for them. I might just buy myself one just for the unique artwork. South America, so wherever they're released, you can go and get them. I mean, personally, I'd probably just even invest in the Japanese ones, because I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Japanese Bond poster art. So yeah, retail at £20 by Mini GT. The Aston Martin is available on the 007 store. So yeah, if you're in your die-cast cars, I would get them, because they are reasonable. Also, Auto Art have released an Aston Martin DB5 to commemorate the 60th anniversary of Goldfinger, which I think retails about the £300 mark. Auto Art, I have a bit of a funny kind of, so 20 odd years ago they gave us five die casts, which scaled at 1/18, and they retailed between £50 to £70, I think. Obviously £300 is now a lot. It does look good, but with my experience of Auto Art, it hasn't been great, because this is the first issue of the DB5, and what you hear there is the passenger door. So the passenger door many years ago decided to fall off, broke clean off at the hinges. I even think that the driver's door might be on its way. One of the wheels have snapped off. I don't know if this is a common problem with Auto Art, or if this was just a faulty model. I don't know. So I've been in two minds whether or not to get this replaced, but for £300 on a model, and if it falls apart after a few years, I'm not going to be very happy. So yeah, the detailing, you can't fault. The detailing and stuff, what they go on, is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, so 20 odd years ago they did the DB5. I think they did 4 issues of the DB5. They did one that was marketed as the Goldfinger car, but was actually the GoldenEye model, and vice versa. And then they had one with the injector seat, the one without the ejector seat, one without the satellite sat-nav, one with the sat-nav. They did various variations, but they did that. They did the Toyota 2000 GT. They did the submersible Lotus, as well as the road version of Lotus, which I still need to get. So in total they did 6. They did the For Eyes Only Lotus, and they did the BMW Z8. So I have got all of them apart from the road version Lotus. Whether or not they'll do reissue them again, I don't know. But generally, they are good models. The details there. It's just they are, especially the DB5, is prone to having its door come off. So again, I mean, it's again, I mean, if you're a die-cast collector, if you've got the money, you know, yeah, pay the £300 for a 1/1/8 scale DB5, which obviously is much cheaper than the Aora models. Have I said that right? Which are about 1200. So yeah, so that I think is this week's kind of news for what's happened in Bond, really. There hasn't been a great. I mean, I think certain tabloids are kind of basically repeating news of what had happened, of what was mentioned last November, I think. But I mean, like, you know, as Barbara said, you know, every day, especially in the UK, Bond gets a reference in the tabloids one way or another because it sells, it pulls people in. But yeah, obviously, you know, so yeah, I mean, Bond is very much still alive, because otherwise I wouldn't be here talking about it. So yeah, for the literature fans, there is stuff to look forward to. And for the Bond collectors, there's still things, you know, being, you know, Eon are still selling the license and issuing the license to certain companies for them to producing. So for collectors, it's still going, and obviously for the music fans, you know, there's stuff out there. So Bond is very much alive. It's just obviously the news on the next film is just nothing there. So yeah, anyway, I will be back next week. No, I won't, because I won't have time. I'll be tending the British Shooting Show. So yes, because my wife, she's a very talented artist. She's a wildlife artist and does coloured pencils. So we will be going to the British Shooting Show at the NEC to try and sell a load of illustrations and pictures and paintings. So no, I will not be here next week. But I should hopefully be with you the week after. What I will talk about then, I don't know. It depends. So basically, I've got 2 weeks to kind of think of something, or, you know, if a lot happens within 2 weeks, then I'm probably going to be talking about 2 weeks worth of news. So anyway, sorry for the delay, but yeah, so that's it.